Business as Unusual is a thought-provoking podcast that explores the innovative strategies, disruptive ideas, and unconventional practices driving successful leaders and companies in the ever-evolving world of modern business. Subscribe, comment, and share for weekly inspiration with our host, Aicila.
Welcome to Business as Unusual. Joining me today are Krystal Eicher and Wendy Guth, the co-founders of Serendipitous Rebel and creators of the Savor Mindset Retreat at sea, like pirates. They blend strategic marketing and deep coaching to help women step out of overwhelm, reconnect with what they want, and build aligned, sustainable businesses. Their focus on combining strategy with deep alignment to combat overwhelm speaks directly to the framework of the show. So I'm really excited to be chatting with them. Welcome to the show, Krystal and Wendy.
Thank you so much.
And we've already laughed a lot. So I'm very excited to bring our listeners into that experience. And we'll just dive right in. One of the biggest problems that you talk about seeing is that you have a lot of clients that they're trying to solve this feeling of being overwhelmed, stuck, pulled in too many directions. They know a lot about business, but they're not entirely sure what to prioritize. And so they end up in indecision, overthinking, and a lot of reaction. And you help them kind of step out of that chaos into clarity. Can you talk a little bit about both that challenge, maybe how that looks when it shows up, and then maybe a tactic or two that you guys use to address it?
Yeah, so one of the things that we had talked about even before talking to you this morning, and I think it's so funny how sometimes things keep coming up, is that women, a friend of mine sent me a meme last week that says, I have been 10 different women since 8 a.m. And we are constantly juggling. We refer to it in our business as different hats. Okay. There's different hats you wear throughout the day. Okay. And then as a business owner, there are hats, like sub hats in between that. You know, maybe it's your fascinator if you're feeling a little British today. But, you know, even when you're trying to run your business, okay, you have your expertise that you have your business on. We work with a lot of coaches, a lot of relationship coaches. So maybe it's your coaching hat, but then it's also your marketing hat, your bookkeeping hat. And then under as a marketer, you have to be this expert in all of the things, right? And it is hard to know where to look at any given moment, especially when you're also juggling the other hats, like my mom hat, or this morning I had to have my advocate hat on because my daughter's special education and I had to go through a meeting for SPED this morning, or my community member hat, you know, if you volunteer or you do anything. And then to turn around and be my business partner hat and then turn around and take care of clients. So it's hard to know in the transition of it, of all the different things that you're looking. And I think that most people don't take into account all of the other hats that you are wearing. And, I'm gonna let Wendy speak to this, but I think we have a really unique way of looking at that.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of coaches and consultants, they jump into the strategy. You know, what is it that your offer needs to look like? Or what is it that you're, you know, the end result in that regard, without looking at a holistic view of our lives. And, you know, and so I think that that's the first thing to start with. And one of the things in terms of tactics that we like to do is we call it a runway. We each have a certain amount we have resources, and it's time, money, energy, community, connection, that kind of thing. And really it changes with our hats. We, you know, and with the season of wherever we are in the season of our lives. And sometimes it's a daily change, as Krystal said. I don't know if I'm fortunate, but my kids are older, so I have a longer season where I can actually go a couple weeks without having to have some, you know, major kind of hoopla in my life. But I remember the days where it was, you know, the constant influx. So looking at your runway, it's you take and you really think about, and really it's sitting down with your calendar and saying, wow, how much time do I have today to work on whatever it is? How much energy do I have? Because sometimes they aren't necessarily in sync. And also it's really how much money, either do I need to earn, or do I have to spend? And looking at those resources, and then saying, okay, how does this impact my business? And I think that's like a really important piece of it. How does it impact? We talk about, we have clients who come to us and say, so I want to launch, and I want to launch in August, or I want to launch July. I have littles, and they're going to be home for the summer. When are you going to do this? When are you going to have the time, the money, and the energy to be able to do those sorts of things? So it's really taking a good hard look at your life, at your holistic life, that I don't think is always comes into play, especially for women. Yeah.
I think getting real is a very important skill, honestly, to develop. And it's interesting because I do feel there are times in my life where I have leveraged the power of delusion. Like I've looked at something and been, oh, this is completely impossible and I don't have an option. So I'm going to decide that it's possible. So I do think there are strategic moments where that's a helpful skill, but also being really clear. I am in this moment choosing to do something that legitimately isn't possible, and I have decided I will make it so. And that can be functional, but it can't be a default strategy. That's the path to crisis, right?
Right. I always say, like, a small amount of your time can be left with magical thinking, and that's what we call the delusional piece of it. And the rest of it needs to be, to your point, very much rooted in a reality. And that sometimes that doesn't mean not now, or sometimes it means not ever. It just means not now. And sometimes and that's what I feel like our job as coaches, as people that help people run businesses. I would not be doing my job if I didn't shine a light on those facts. I'd be doing our clients a huge disservice. And actually, all I would be at that point is a grifter taking your money by allowing you to continue this magical thinking, because then that leads us to like sunk cost fallacies and all kinds of other nonsense that keep women in that vortex of a downward spiral. The idea is to actually like pause. Know, are we making decisions from the data points and from facts, right? Not off of hopes and, we always joked that you can't make a business plan or a business strategy off of hopes and dreams. Like, I can make the spreadsheet say whatever I want to say and say that, if we did have 1,000 clients and $37 a month, we could make $37,000 a month. But that's a hope and dream, not a basis in reality in year one, right? Yeah. What are the metrics and how can we backwards strategize to get to that point?
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's also really important to realize that our goal is not to gaslight or shame, because as women, we tend to feel all of these feelings. If we purchase a course and we're not, and they promise, yes, we're going to make, $10,000 a month or whatever it is, or after completing this course. And if we don't do it, the feeling is it's our fault. We're the ones who, what did we not do right? What is wrong with us? So one of the things that I think that we really try to, it's not about shame. It's not about blame. It's about putting all of and it's not about judgment. It's putting all of those types of feelings aside and trying to look with curiosity at, okay, well, what can we change? Maybe it is the strategy. Maybe it is the mindset, whatever it is. How do we need to change this to ultimately make you a joyous person with whatever it is you're doing in your life?
Right. When I think, to speak to your point about the courses, it's, if somebody says you're going to make thousands of dollars by buying my $60 course or whatever, ultimately what they're doing is making thousands of dollars selling $60 courses. So unless that's what you want to do, that's not actually going to give you the information that you need to be successful in your goals and your dreams. And I think we're really aligned in that. When I work with people, I sometimes find myself fighting for their vision because they get kind of exhausted by the constant distractions and or that feeling of, well, maybe somebody else knows what I'm supposed to do. And it's like, no, you know what you're supposed to do. I believe in tools and self-development for sure, but only and always from that space of understanding that I have what I need. I might need to sharpen a skill. I might need, someone to take something on that has to happen that I'm not great at. Like most of us probably should have an accountant or a bookkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we love your podcast. That's why we love you so much. I think it is that women innately know, one thing we know with our clients, they discount so much of their previous life experience and their wisdom that they bring to the table of things. And, nobody wants me to be their bookkeeper. Like, let's just call a spade a spade.
I don't either.
Right. Yeah. But also, that's why I hire a bookkeeper, to be clear. And so to your point, I can sharpen a skill. I can learn how to do something a little bit better. But we have so much wisdom that we're bringing to the table to figure out how to do this. And we forget the fact that other people in this space are making money by telling you that you don't know what you're doing and this way is actually better. And that's how I think most of our clients, by the time they get to us, they have Frankensteined their business in such a weird way that it looks nothing like what they originally had started. And so much of what we end up doing with our clients, whether we do it through our coaching on one-on-one or two-on-one or in our retreat setting, is really like stripping down all of the pieces that are weighing them down that serve them.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to tell women, like, if you've never gotten a client through an Instagram post, why are we spending so much money pouring into an Instagram strategy? That makes no sense to me. And, I could go on and on with like 1,000 examples of that. And we see it all the time though, all the time, because we start to have that self-doubt that creeps in. And I hate the word imposter syndrome, but it does show up. So,
because it's cultivated, right? It's not imposter syndrome. It's a cultivated condition, and speaks to exactly what you were saying, that a lot of people make money off of telling you you're not enough and that you can't do it. And so eventually you'll believe that. It's, we do look for social proof, and you get enough social proof and you're like, okay, maybe I don't know. And I'm sure you know the stats, right? Like, women will apply for a job if they're 100% qualified. Men will apply for the same job if they're 60% qualified.
Yep.
And I do it. I can know all this in my head, and it doesn't matter. I'll be like, oh, I need to take a course before I do that. It's like, why? Why do I need to take a course?
Yeah.
Yeah, we say that all the time. Like, you're just so much better investing in. I mean, that's why we created the retreats that we did, was that we just felt like women were so much better off investing in time away for themselves to decompress, to regulate their nervous system, to have fun, to connect with other business owners who speak language and work on their business than they are in another $5,000 group program where they're just one of many, or another like high-end course. And it's not to say that there's not sometimes value in all of those things, right? Because everybody has different gaps that they want to fulfill, whether it was, understanding that, hey, this is a strategy that really worked for you. And like you said, you could sharpen up that skill maybe, but that's not all things or everything. And man, if I could take all that money back that I invested in nonsense things in my first couple of years of business and reinvest it into myself, or reinvest it even in a high yield savings account, I'd probably be way better off.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about being a pirate, i.e. a mastermind at sea, which I know that's not what you're calling it, but I've embraced that in my heart.
The best part is that the last one that we hosted was in October. And it was a Halloween theme night, and Wendy came as a pirate.
I see. If it's not costume and I come as a pirate, is that okay? I just need to know that.
No, of course.
I mean, I came as an M&M, but also that speaks to my love of food and chocolate and just needing to be silly all the time.
Love
but
it.
yes, you could totally be a pirate.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. 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 And you know, it's built around the Savor framework. And Savor stands for stepping out of your comfort zone, aligning your passions and purpose, venturing under your own power, open to community and connection, unwinding with self-care, and ritualizing gratitude and celebration. And
Nice.
the retreat and the experience at sea really is wrapped around all of that. And you know, it's checking, it's like checking the judgment bag before you leaving it at home, actually. Replacing it with sparkly shoes and other sorts of things. But it's really combining a lot of and making it more like multi-sensory, because we've all sat in the, you know, in that conference room, in that chair that, oh my gosh, listening to a talking head in the front of the room, go on and on. And it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I here? And you're really here because you want to chit chat with the people standing in line for coffee, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we really feel that we're cutting it all to the chase and taking our collective wisdom. Both of us have meetings backgrounds. So taking, you know, what did we like about a past life and what did we not like, and then creating something around that. And I think it's super powerful. And we use Virgin Voyages, their lady ships, and it's a totally different experience too. Most people think cruise ships, they think you know, raucous parties and lots of kids and things like that, and this is really not the experience at all. It's very much they've built a brand around connections, and we totally embrace that. And the fact that it used to be rebellious luxe, we still think it is. Ties in with the whole rebel thing.
Yeah, I love that.
So much of the way we kind of build this mastermind, like Wendy said, was to take the best of all of our previous mastermind experiences, because between Wendy and I, we've attended and been part of a lot, from high-end $30,000 a year masterminds to smaller group programs. And we really said, okay, what was the best of those experiences, and where were the moments that we got the most out of it? And it was the small, intimate connections that really mattered in those experiences. It was very rarely anything to do with the guru at the front of the room.
Right.
And very much with the ability to decompress and have fun. So our mastermind retreats are very unstructured on purpose, which actually freaks, I'll be honest, people out the first time they come, because they're like, where am I supposed to be when? And I said, you know, we have standing working breakfast where we meet and come together at meal times, and we let the day kind of organically evolve from there. And at the end of the day, we all are here because we want to work on our business. And we do a lot of pre-work coaching with clients before they come on. So I know by the time we step onto that ship, Wendy and I have done our due diligence. We know your business backwards and forwards. We've had multiple conversations with you leading up to it. We're really getting the heart of what it is that you do in your business and what it is that you're working on. And then we're going to spend 5 days problem solving that. And here's the secret. And I'm like hesitant to share the secret because it's a
secret.
All of you have the same problem. And everybody has the same problem. And that is that we need more traffic and visibility on our offers. And we need to figure out how to best workshop that for us. And all we're doing now, and I mean, and there's like a ton that goes into that. There's mindset stuff behind it. And, you know, maybe we don't have the right systems in place or things like that. But at the end of the day, we all have this offer and this gift, and we're trying to get it out into the world. And what is the best way for me individually to do that? Taking into account all those other things we've just talked about, my personal life issues and all the other obstacles that I have to deal with. And we're literally sitting on the back of the daybed at the dock in the back of the ship in the sun, in my bathing suit or in my robe, workshopping exactly that. So I don't want you to spend a ton of time getting dressed up. I don't want to spend a ton of time. I mean, dress up all you want in your sparkly shoes and what you want for dinner, and we're going to go dancing for sure. But I want you to open up your laptop and let's talk through and look at all of the pieces of your business. And let's get like the eyes of not just Wendy and I, though we are experts in our own right and brilliant in all of that, but the other experts in the room to look at it too.
Yeah.
You know, we might have this other gal who her whole business is that she's a Facebook ads expert.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been struggling with ads. Well, I can help you with that, but man, you really want Tammy's eyes on that at the end of the day. Or maybe there's some other things. So it's bringing in also the collective wisdom of everybody else in the group into that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all here to help elevate each other.
Yeah.
And that's really what the retreat looks like. And it's 5 days of that. And it's at sea, so we can disconnect and we can kind of break away from the everyday minutia of our own offices. I know that you're not working from home right now because you are doing everything right. But like for us, I'm looking at my dog's in the corner. He really needs to go to the vet this week. He stinks. He needs to get a groomer. And I need to go through, you know, after we get off, you know, this paperwork over here, and I've got laundry over there, and I've got all the distractions that I can see right just in this space.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get out of that environment, to get out of my head.
Yeah.
No, it's really true. That makes such a difference when you can step away.
Yeah. And, you know, we find also that sometimes it's the stepping away piece. And it's also looking at, again, how holistically things fit, you know, when ultimately it is really, you know, how many people can see what it is that your gift and your brilliance and, you know, getting it out into the world. Sometimes the roadblocks and the stumbling blocks are in your head and in your personal life. So we also, you know, really get to know each other and are able in a judgment-free environment, able to talk about, you know, some people, I just got divorced, or some people, I'm going through empty nest syndrome, or I'm, you know, this or that, you know, the different things. And it's even sometimes talking about the fact that it was really hard to be able to break away from the family and actually get on a ship. And hey, you know what? We only, one of the things that I was thinking a lot about last weekend is we have a limited amount of time, especially like we're talking about, you know, we're the next April is our next mastermind. We have a limited number of, this is probably too deep for a Friday, but we have a limited number of Aprils in our lives. We have a limited number of Christmases and Thanksgivings and all these different things. And to say, well, you know, I can do it some other time, or, you know, it's like, how do you prioritize the things that are important in your life? And for some reason, it really hit me while I was on vacation last week about that, and the importance of knowing that we're all important, and we don't necessarily, you know, taking the second fiddle does not isn't necessarily good for any of us, not your families, not your partners, and definitely not yourself. So
right, that's a really good point. Well, and I'm gonna say this for folks that are listening, because it's something that I hear come up occasionally, and I think women do this to ourselves a lot, especially competent women, which is, well, but I could do this without anyone. Like I can. And the reality is, yes, you can. And also, if you haven't yet, there's a reason for that. And that reason is that we all do this, no matter how competent, no matter how aware, no matter how clear we are, we all get in our heads, or we get in a routine, and we get a simple blind spot. And having somebody like Krystal and Wendy take you to a space where other people are, that can reinforce a new pattern or a habit or a way of thinking about things, or even, and so yes, to a certain extent, what happens when you do these things is you actually are the one that solves the problem, but that perspective that you get And I liken it to, training for a marathon. Like if you hire someone to help you train for a marathon, you are absolutely the one who's doing the weightlifting and you are the one who's running those 26 miles. That is your success for sure.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you have someone help you train, they can give you tips. They can look at your body from the outside.
Yes.
They can tell you, oh, you're running in a way that's going to strain your hip. And that is invaluable advice and perspective. And sometimes we can equate, oh, they did it. They didn't do it for us. No. Then that's the guru mentality. The guru is like, I'm taking credit for your success. No, that's not. And that's obviously what you guys are not doing. Right. But at the same time, that success wouldn't happen in the same way or with the same ease without that trainer giving you that support, guidance, and expertise advice so that you can avoid the pitfalls that either you're not aware of or you can't see because you don't see that you're hitching your hip funny. And it's still your success. And that's, to me, that's a really important thing for people to understand, because I feel like, especially for competent women or women who've had to do it all themselves, they're just like, well, why would I pay someone else to tell me stuff I already know? Well, kind of, it, but also if you knew it, you'd be doing it. That's kind of the way it works. So I'm just going to stop the commercial and move on. But I just wanted to add that because I feel like I run into that here and there. And it's even in my own self sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, well, because I know that ultimately when I give myself good advice and I listen to it, that's great. But I can't always see the advice that I need. I do much better when I have somebody else come in and point it out.
Yeah.
Well, and how do you know the questions to ask if you don't know questions to ask?
Yeah.
Like there's no way to get the answer. And I take it a step further that I am a hyper independent woman and have, that's probably super trauma informed. And that's what I unpack on my Thursday morning therapy sessions. But at the end of the day, there is shame that comes around with when your launches fail. And by the way, again, the dirty secret is all of us have a launch at some point that fails.
Yep.
All of us have put out an offer that fell flat or worked stupidly hard on a reel that got like 10 views or whatever, right? And there's all these feelings around it. And shame thrives in the dark, but it cannot live in the light. And when you speak it out into a group of women and they can reflect back to you, yeah, me too, or I've done that too. And then again, take you out of the shame of it and into the, I want to get curious and let's look at it. And it was like, you know what? I remember looking at one participant's funnel and saying, look, your sales page is dynamite. This copy is gold. Like your conversion rate on page, again, is like 40%. That's amazing. But our conversion to get people on there was like 1%. So like, all right, it's about looking again at like how can we get more eyes on this? What are great ways to get your voice into the world? Maybe it's guest speaking on another podcast. Maybe it's encouraging other people to get on, stop wasting your time on the social media. Maybe we need to get you into more networking and conferencing events. Maybe you should be a speaker. Maybe you kill it on Instagram Reels and we just need to do more of those and run traffic to it.
Yeah.
We can problem solve this, but we can't do it if we're in a shame spiral in our own little silo.
Yeah. It's a really great point.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say is that especially as entrepreneurs and solo entrepreneurs, is we end up in these silos. And, Krystal and I sort of joke about it now, but even though when we originally started working together, we were in a partnership with a third person, but we were all in our own silos. And we did not, I wasn't in Krystal's head or her heart. I didn't know what she was thinking or feeling. And until we actually came together and met face to face, we had a retreat, did we actually open the lines of communication. And we all, and we live in this world that's so performative. Well, I have to be perfect. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, it's such BS, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of our own, either our own soul searching or help from others who can help us to realize that we don't have to live in these silos. And to be perfectly honest, the silos are really unhealthy and keep us stagnant and stuck and really in this comfort zone that isn't going to get you to where you really want to be.
Right. It's really true. So to lead into, what does success look like for you guys?
That's such a good one.
Oh, I have to pull up because somebody literally just messaged me this other day and I was like, yes. And it's like, what it was like, true wealth is the freedom to be unproductive. But it's the idea that I think success is so different, but it's getting to do what you want when you want on your terms. And I think so much of, our business is called Serendipitous Rebel. And it's like finding the joy in life your way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and that is, and the your way part is very rebellious because especially as women, I think we're told a lot, like what you should want out of life and what you should be pursuing out of life. And if you're not looking for the married with 2 kids in the burbs, the PTO mom president or something, I don't know, like if you're not fitting, especially if you live in like the suburbs, like where I live, like if you're not carrying the Louis Vuitton bag and we're driving this car and doing this, then you're not successful.
Yeah.
And that's not where we tend to find our joy.
Well,
Right.
it's so interesting. I grew up where success was measured by how hard did you work and how much money did you make. I'm the product of Depression era parents. And that was a hard thing to work through. And now I realize that success is actually based on having or doing what I do because I love it and it feeds certain needs of mine. I have a love of learning. So this is just, content creation is the most amazing thing when you love learning.
Right.
And I'm also a person who needs to belong. So having a business partner who's also my soul sister, who is my travel buddy, etc., is fantastic. And we have a very tight group. So we call it a square. Well, we took it from Brene Brown, but a square squad, but a close knit, the biz besties who we travel together and hang out and all that good stuff. Having that is so important. I also have time where if I want to go travel, I've been gone for 2 weeks. Or I want to do something with, I want to drop everything and run up and visit my kids at college or hang out with my husband. It's all these things that the business and success allows me to do.
Yep.
And at the same time, paying for it.
Yeah.
Which helps
Right.
too. Yeah. So
you need to be able to. What is your least favorite piece of business advice? The one that you would ban if you could?
Oh my. It would be that some of the formulas that, I remember starting out, you have to do this. You have to, you must do at least 3 posts a day. And you must 10 DMs a day. Oh my gosh, I'm an introvert and all of these things, or you must be on TikTok, or you must, these must do's are really, I think, to some extent, very unhealthy in terms of figuring out what your business mix is, because we're all different. Now, fortunately, Krystal's the TikTok girl. I don't have to.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. I don't have to be. But I think that there's just, I think it's wrong to say that everything must be a certain formulaic way. And a disservice to women who have, or actually not just women, anyone who's got, a great idea and the passion to put it forward, but may not just be comfortable, I don't know, DMing people or, whatever other tactic. There are other tactics that you can use and that fit better with your personality.
Right. Exactly. I'm there with you.
Yeah. And I have such a harder time answering that because I don't know if it's just like one piece of advice, but I think it was for me the I think it was not advice, but so much as a promise of that this is that you can have a part-time business and a full-time income.
Mm. Mm.
And I think that, when we got started, and I say we because we came into the online space through the travel industry, both Wendy and I did. And I sat through a webinar where somebody had said, you could build this during your kids' nap time and it's very little. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you get into it and you're like, whoa. And it's just, I had enough knowledge and enough drive and enough ambition to do it. But the idea that I wish that we could tell everybody getting ready to start a business, are you prepared to work 60 hours a week and pay to be there? I mean, honestly, you kind of joke, but it's like, no, I'm paying the business to work for the business. And because there's capital contributions that come into play and all these other investments of the time and the energy and money, and the return was delayed. And I think that that's different for different people. Some people find this instant success, but I think that's rare and not the common thing. And so, we've had clients who come to us and they're like, I need to make six figures, because they're single moms or they're getting ready to get a divorce or not married. And so it's like, okay, I am the sole breadwinner of my family and I need to make this much money to live, but I only have 10 hours to give and I'm going to sell a $25 offer. Well, the math ain't mathin'. And I think that the biggest disservice gurus have given to a lot of women is this empty promise that they can do this very part-time with little time, money, energy, or resources. And again, we start to think that if it didn't work, we were the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, this is not hard because you did it wrong. It's hard because it's hard.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of formula to business, but not, but there's basically again, we reverse engineer. How much money do you need to make?
Mm-hmm.
This is how you price your offer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how many you have to sell.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Wow.
That was a minute ago.
Wow. That was so long ago. I do think about it because I think about, I have very few regrets in my life, but I do think about, I think it's realizing that you want to do something that you enjoy in life and doing whatever it is that you enjoy, that you're good at, that matches with your skills. But throwing everything into a career with no balance is really not good. I remember early on in my 20s, it was all about how many hours can I put in, and it was I remember missing my best friend's wedding at the time because I had to work, and that is a regret. Looking back, I would have prioritized differently, probably better. Yeah.
And I think mine would be that you matter as much as everybody that you're trying to take care of.
Mm.
And that respect is innate, not earned.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about, it was so funny. I was telling somebody around the holidays about our business, and I said, I just really want to take in this energy, and because everybody, it's the end of the year, and we're transitioning over to, you know, the new year, and you're supposed to pick your word of the year and what do you want to bring into the new year. And I said, well, my whole mantra this year is that I'm going to do the things that bring me joy because I deserve joy, not because I have earned it, not because I have, it's not a quid pro quo. Like, you don't get to be happy just because you work hard, to Wendy's point, or you don't get to experience these good moments because you did these things. There's not morality tied to it or anything else. It's just that we are all innately worthy of those things. And I think that younger me thought that I needed to prove it or I needed to earn it. And if I could go back and, you know, tell 18-year-old me that I was like, I was worthy of it just by being here.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you both.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got your mastermind at sea, aka pirate training in April coming up.
Pirate training early in April. Bring your eye patch.
And you've also, what else do you have? What other ways can people hook into what you're up to? Either, you know, do you have cohorts, worksheets? You know?
So we actually have so if you're looking to just follow along, see more what these two crazy ladies are about, we do have a podcast, Serendipitous Rebel podcast. You can always find us there. We do offer strategy sessions for people who are like, I just would like to know what the heck is going on in our strategy sessions, to what we've alluded to early, kind of look at you holistically before we give you a strategy. And then we also offer coaching. That's just 2-on-1 that goes on a monthly cohort basis. And those are individual. And we don't love locking people into cohorts because we have found that if you don't want to be there, we don't want you here either. But also, so those things all go month to month. And that's it. But then the big thing is we do offer twice a year our mastermind retreats. The next one goes April 11th. And then we will open the doors fairly soon with our fall retreat. We're just trying to nail down those dates currently.
Awesome. And you guys, so if people that are listening and they want to learn more, follow you, get in touch, there's the podcast, right? There's your website and your Instagram.
And our Instagrams. We can find us on Instagram at Serendipitous Rebel, on our website, serendipitousrebel.com. And then, yes, the podcast is the Serendipitous Rebel podcast. We are nothing is not very clearly branded.
That's fantastic. It's a great name. I love the whole pod. I like Lucky Rebel. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Business as Unusual. Remember, in this ever-evolving world of modern business, it's not about fitting in. It's about standing out. See you next time. Stay curious, stay innovative, and always keep it unusual. I hope you enjoy the show. I love making it. If you did enjoy it, consider hopping over to the review portion of the platform you listen on and letting other people know about it. Or share the episode or the entire show with a friend or subscribe to the show. Definitely reach out, get on my newsletter, follow me on social media, and let me know what you like, what you don't like, and what you'd like to see in the future. Well, we love our guests. Appearance on the Business as Unusual podcast or any Bicurean consulting production is for information purposes only and is not to be considered an endorsement of their business practices, or character. Please properly vet anyone you find through this podcast and generally before you do any business with them. Thank you for listening.